Good morning, everyone. This is Jeffy Kennedy, author of Fantasy Romance and Romantic Fantasy. I'm here with my first cup of coffee. Oh, so good. Okay, so alert listeners may have heard in the sound of my voice, watchers may have noted that I'm back to my morning latte. I started doing it again yesterday. Uh, and it's everything. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the insulin resistance and intermittent fasting. So if you have trouble with body image stuff or eating disorder stuff, tap out for today or um, close your ears for a few minutes. So one thing that I did over the weekend was I did some research on stevia and whether or not it really causes an insulin spike. And I found a number of studies on it. There's a lot of disagreement because there are some studies that say yes, it does, and others that say no, it don't. But I found a double-blind study that seemed like it was really well done, well controlled, and they found no impact on blood sugar or insulin from stevia. And then I'm still doing the intermittent fasting. I'm still doing the 16-8. I'm getting great effects from it. I'm down about 8 pounds already, and which is fantastic. And I feel better. A lot of you may know that I started doing this because Grace does it, Grace Draven, and she's been having such great effects with clearing brain fog and sleeping better. You guys, I'm sleeping so much better. It's really interesting. Um, yeah, so I'm feeling energized, feeling good. Um, It's and it's very doable for me. So if you haven't heard me talk about it before, the 16-8 fasting, you basically fast for 16 hours and you eat during an 8-hour window. Um, and in general, you can eat whatever you want. I've been doing some other things too. I've been I've tried to cut out all added sugars from my diet. Um, done I'm having very little added sugar, which is amazing because I have a sweet tooth, but I don't miss it. When I have a real sweet craving, I've been doing what one doctor suggested, and I have some raspberries or blackberries with some whipped cream, just actual heavy cream that I've whipped up and put a little vanilla extract in. I find makes it taste fabulous. Um, Excellent sweet dessert. Adding more fiber to my diet. Raspberries have great fiber. So, and things like I made my own refried beans yesterday. I should include my recipe because, in case anybody cares, you guys may not care. You're not here for the recipes. There's a bunny on the portal. That's why I keep looking at. Hi, bunny. Um, oh yeah, refried beans. So yeah, I make my own refried beans because we both love beans, refried beans. We live in New Mexico, but David can't do spicy stuff. He can't do anything that's too acidic or too spicy. And um, and like even the really good organic refried beans just don't do that well for us. We just never feel good after eating them. I think they use weird lards. Um, so this recipe, I'll just tell you guys, and be only for the people who listen. Oh no, but we have the transcript now, right? So what I did was heated some olive oil, do the extra virgin olive oil in a pan, and then two 15-ounce cans of organic pinto beans, rinsed, and you cook them in the heated olive oil and just keep mashing them up as you cook them. The gal whose recipe I found, she added tomatoes, but none of the belladonnas do well for David, so I didn't add tomatoes. Instead, I added some cumin. I added cumin and salt and some chopped up cilantro at the end. My mom would not like that. If she were here, I would not add the cilantro for her. and they turned out great. And then I made some jasmine rice. I toasted some sunflower seeds and I sauteed some mushrooms and mixed those all into the burrito mix with we have one thing that's great about New Mexico is that we have local tortillas. And so I have local tortillas that had no added sugar. uh, you One thing that you do try to do is cut down on refined carbohydrates, but if you can find like a refined carbohydrate that has a lot of fiber, that helps counteract it. So these have good fiber in them, and um, and put some cheese on there, some cheese and avocado. They were really good burritos. I mean, you all could spice it up if you live with people who can handle spicy stuff, but I find I don't miss the spicy stuff. I'm happy to eat stuff fairly bland for David. That's an easy one for me. My mom used to make this wonderful pork green chili, and we can buy amazing green chili here. And then you put the green chili on top of the tortilla, on top of the burrito, and that's really good too. So anyway, I was just really pleased with all that. I'm really happy with the results. Grace had told me that the stuff she had read, she and I've read some slightly different stuff, but that it would take about 6 weeks for the intermittent fasting to really have an effect on the insulin resistance and so forth. And I'm hitting about 5 weeks now, and I can really tell a difference. So now I am, even though I am outside of my window, it's not. It won't be my eating window until about 11:30 this morning, and it's still 8:15. I'm running a little behind. Um, but I decided to go ahead and have my half and half with my coffee and my stevia and see if I can and not eat anything else. They say you could have a small amount of half and half and cream. This may be more than a small amount, but I'm going to experiment with it because I really love my morning latte. So we'll see what works. And I did do weeks and weeks of um, un, un I want to say uncontaminated, but that's not fair. Unaccessorized coffee. So anyway, um, I need a signal, like an all clear for when I stop talking about uh, content warning stuff. Maybe they just tapped out. But I am very aware that for some people it's very difficult to talk about anything that has to do with uh, governing eating or weight loss or so forth. So let's see. Busy weekend. I did a workshop on Wednesday afternoon after a bunch of SIFWA meetings, lots of SIFWA meetings, but they were really good SIFWA meetings. They were really productive. We have just an amazing board and just fantastic people who are members of SIFWA. I mean, they just really are wonderful people. We have fantastic volunteers. Uh, yeah. And so the board was we had some really thoughtful discussions about a couple of things on the table, talking about Nebula Conference this spring, how we want to handle that, and people have just such great, thoughtful input. I'm really grateful for them. And then taught the workshop in the afternoon. I had 4 people in the shop with me, and then some people came in online, and they were sort of on this little laptop far away, so I couldn't really see who was there unless they had like their big name across and their camera off. So I knew a couple of you who were there, and one gal said that she said at the end when I was doing Q&A, and I'm sorry I didn't catch your name, but she said I have coffee with you every morning, and I thought that's so lovely. It's one of the maybe unexpected consequences, ripple effects of doing this podcast. Because, for me, I put it here and I send it out, and unless people send me comments, I don't really know who's out there, who's listening or reading the transcript. Now that we have the transcript, and but so then I run into people when I do stuff, and they say, "Oh, yes." I listen to your podcast, and I drink my coffee while you talk, and I love that. Maybe I'm just in a gratitude mood this morning, but I'm grateful for all of you who listen in and say lovely things to me. So then, oh yeah, there's a gal in town who is the editor of Galaxy's Edge, Leslie Robin, and Leslie and her friend Ava, who is headed up to Kevin J. Anderson's All Stars writing workshop retreat dealy. She was in. They were both in town, and sort of ships passing in the night. Ava just happened to be driving through Santa Fe on the way to Denver, Colorado Springs. Sorry, from Tucson to Colorado Springs, and Leslie was remarkably in town. Got something in my eye there. I had to go deal with it. It was a cat hair. And what? Why? Why try to hide the fact? How do I get cat hairs in my eyes? I don't know. How do cat hairs get everywhere? It's one of the great mysteries of the universe. So, let's see, I was talking about the weekend. Oh, yeah. And so Leslie was really fun. We all went out to dinner afterwards and had a great time. And then yesterday I didn't stay completely unplugged, but I stayed largely offline. I did take care of a few things on the computer. I also cleaned out the closet of doom, which looks much better now. Um, it's I mean, it's not like I'm not going to show it to you guys. This is the closet in my office because my office is technically a bedroom, I guess. I suppose there are houses that are big enough where they have rooms that are dedicated offices. Is that what I'm trying to say? And this one is technically a bedroom, although it has things like you could see behind me, like it has this power strip and stuff. Of course, I have my desk set up so I can look out the window, which I think I'm weird that way. So it's like a bedroom closet, like has the clothes rack in it and everything. But I also have a bookshelf in there and a file cabinet. I keep my coats in there. There's a higher shelf, but it's full of things like writing books and copies of arcs. Like I have a lot of my own books. Like these couple of shelves are all my own books, but uh, that one's like various arcs and copies of things that I've kept, like one copy of a lot of magazines when I used to do a lot of magazine writing and that sort of thing. Uh, Poetry also lives in there for no good reason other than the fact that I don't access it as frequently as other books. I I rearranged my office to mostly have the books that I could see while I'm working being the books that inspire me, the the ones that I've loved. So they're out of order. So they're which would really upset the librarians among you, I'm sure. But I used to keep like all the books from a single author in one space, which is logical. But finally, I decided, it's my office and my study. I had a friend who didn't like to call her writing space an office. She called it her study. And I tried it for a while and I always revert to office. I don't think I care. So I have the books from those authors that I love most within eyesight and within easy grab reach. So, so why am I talking so much about this, about the Closet of Doom? It's just really was an accomplishment. It did take me most of the afternoon. I pulled everything out, and it's got all my mailing stuff in it. So now it's much better organized. I did throw a bunch of shit away. One thing that was striking about it, though, is how much of the shit I have from conferences, both that I've received from conferences and that I give away at conferences. A whole lot of that stuff is swag, is stuff that I would hand out. And I guess I could mail it out now, but it's really funny to look at that stuff and be, well, I mean, 3 years out from having, almost 2.5 years since the last time I was at a conference. What was the last one I went to was Worldcon in Dublin, right? 2019. which is amazing to think about because that was a long time ago now, right? And before that, when was the last conference? A lot of this stuff was for like the reader conferences, and I don't know, it's a bunch of silly shit. So I threw a lot of things away. A lot of it has just started to feel ancient to me now. Like I had a whole bunch of those Carino wine tumblers, plastic wine tumblers. I was like, okay, that's I'm not keeping. I threw away a lot of Carina stuff. Sorry, Carina people, but it's like I just don't have much identity with that press anymore. So that was good. You know how a good purging can do. So yeah, now everything's much more accessible. I threw away a lot of old phone cases because I guess I was keeping these phone cases with the idea that they would maybe fit some other phone. But one thing they do is they make sure that like the phones are all different all the time, right? So you don't. It's like, why am I keeping these old phone cases? Stuff like that. So yeah, that felt like a productive weekend to me. Where are we at on the book? I have 2 weeks to finish this bloody book. I, I don't want to influence how you guys feel about it. I do think it's a good book. It's just taking a lot. And I know I say this every single time when I'm finishing a book. I'm at 87,000 words. I only got 1,000 words on Friday, but at least I got 1,000 words. I think today I am going to start going back and revising from the beginning. Um, I on Friday, I figured out some solutions to some things, which is good. And I have been mulling it in the back of my mind over the weekend. We talk about that a lot, like even when you're not actually writing, you're still percolating on the book. And I know I've figured out some things. I just had to think more about Nick and Gabriel and how they would handle this situation. I think I talked about this some on Friday, but it's funny how like you can have this conception of how the story will go, and you think you could be able to just type it out, but the story doesn't always cooperate that way. It's like, no, it doesn't want to do that. Maybe other writers can do that, but I can't. So, so yeah, looking at our progress count spreadsheet, 87,000 words. I think I've got about 18,000 to go. I do know how this book is going to end. I mean, or more or less. I mean, there are some things I know, some things I don't. So, so yeah, I think I will start back at the beginning so I can get. I'm having a little bit of trouble with Gabriel's character arc at this point. Um, what I want him to do is not what he's doing. I should probably just stop fighting that, right? Gabriel's always been an interesting character to me. And I know a lot of you love him. Uh, he's always kind of taken his own road. Nick takes her own road too, for that matter, which is probably why they're so meant for each other. So anyway, the big dramatic thing I want Gabriel to do, he is refusing to do. Damn it. So we shall see. We shall see how it goes. So wish me luck. I do have a really open weekend next weekend, and depending on my progress this week, I may work through the weekend and just try to get her done. Get her done. Powder River, let her buck. If you have been to Wyoming or know of Wyoming things, you will get that. And oh, I don't have time to talk about it anymore. I should make myself a note. My aunt sent me an article from the New Yorker that was in there in the fall. Maybe people talked about it. I usually miss most internet kerfuffles. I don't. I curate very heavily. I will only things that bring me joy. And but she sent me this article that it was a it was confusing because it was a review of a book, and the book was about how Amazon has changed publishing. And then apparently the book had a lot of things wrong in it. And the author of the article, who was discussing the book, pointed out some of the things that were wrong in the article, but then also had things wrong that they said in the article. And I couldn't tell if they had like pulled that wrongness from the book, from the source material, and not fact checked it, in which case I'm really surprised that New Yorker didn't fact check these things. Like, for example, those some of you will know, and I won't go on too long because I'm about out of time. But like they said that KDP was Amazon's publishing program where authors get paid by page reads, and it's like, well, that's just factually not true. That's there's and I'll talk. Well, I'll really quickly for those of you who don't know. KDP, yes, is Amazon's program where you can go in and self-publish, but where authors get paid by page reads is KDP Select, and that's where people can subscribe to Kindle Unlimited and read an unlimited number of books for their monthly fee, and authors are paid by page reads. But under KDP, you also sell books. And my aunt had asked me, she said she was curious about my experience with Amazon, and I don't do Kindle Unlimited except for occasional experiments. So I mean, it was just not correct, and and misleading, and I wonder if it's deliberately misleading because the New Yorker tends to be one of those remaining outposts of literary snobitude, where they also trotted out um, that like half of self-publishing authors make less than $500. And I think they just said less than $500. I think that was like full stop. So, reader, listener, I make more than $500 on my self-published books. Thank you very much. I know you do too, some of you who are listening. So anyway, it was aggravating. If you want me to, I'll put a link to the article, although I hate to give them clicks, but it was a puzzling article. I wrote back to my aunt and said, well, that was a whiplash of a read. You guys should read it and tell me what you think. Okay, anyway, I've babbled on long enough when I need to be writing. So I will talk to you all tomorrow. You all take care. Bye bye.